No time for intros today. Welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It's a lovely Thursday morning over here from, once again, a frigid Helsinki, Finland. Ugh, can't even say my words today, so you know it's going to be a long one. But I've actually figured out how to get coffee back in my house. Ha! Anyways, the addiction continues. So with that in mind, I would like to wish you the best, and the happiest. Let's get into it right now. Start off with the Krown Chain application, which can be found at app.krownchain.net. And actually, before we get into that, I do want to point out that I did release just kind of like a standalone video last night for the ultimate Bula-ish case and also the ultimate Barra-ish case that follows after it. So with that said, a little bit of fun stuff right there. I always want to preface that sort of a conversation by saying, hey, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not, I don't want, you know, I'm not saying that this is exactly going to happen, obviously, but just some interesting things that I'm looking at and that you might find interesting yourself as well. And then at the end of the day, you are more than free to make your own decisions as an autonomous human adult. So with that in mind, let's go over here into the Krown Chain application, of which I still have yet to sign in on my damn computer. Say, remember me, damn it. Jesus Christ. And there we go. All right. Anyways, as we do look and peruse the dashboard right here, what do we see? We see plenty of things right now. So Bitcoin dominance did come down about 1% from yesterday to today. So that does suggest that while Bitcoin has been the first mover to the upside outside of the, we'll just call it like the $50,000 pivot on the macro there, although technically speaking is a little bit lower than that, to be fair. We are starting to see alts follow alongside that. So in this rotational segment, we have Bitcoin moving first, altcoins being pulled up second, and I imagine that they're going to be marching onwards and forwards in their relative strength file. Anyways, on top of that, we do see that fear and greed index has actually come down a couple points. I guess it didn't rally enough. Didn't rally. $2,000 to the upside. Fuck you. I want 10. But we'll actually be going over that. And on top of that, we do see that open interest actually in a more serious tone has come up almost 1 billion. Almost 1 billion, that is. Not 1 million, but 1 billion with like a Dr. Evil grin since yesterday when we last spoke. So with that in mind, that does suggest that, of course, yes, the rally is supported right here as we do go into the market data tab and can see it in chart formation. As we do have quite literally new all-time highs on both price action and open interest, so that is good. Of course, want to see volume follow that as well, and volatility, of which we do see expansive phases in both, and we do see that the open interest continues to creep onwards and upwards as well. So a couple of warning signals embedded inside a long-term greater signal, but that is going to be relevant for the medium-term time frame. So we do want to call back to that a little bit later, which we'll be bringing back into the analysis, but keep in mind that the global funding rate, which someone actually asked this yesterday, but I shouldn't say actually asked this, but they just wanted to know what is the global funding rate. It's just the average of all the major exchanges funding rates over here. So if we actually do it into the minutia, we can see that FTX, Bybit, and even BitMEX and Binance now kind of the biggest offenders, well above the threshold there. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 exchanges above the threshold. Sorry, make that 7 with Deribit as well. So with that in mind, I do think that this is actually rather concerning, and that does likely suggest that the next sort of medium-term pivot, when we get into the actual charts themselves, likely does provide a little bit of pushback on price action. So it's it's not a kill signal in and of itself, but it is going to be a cautionary signal at the next sort of likely profit-taking level. So with that in mind, let's go to the actual price action charts. But before that, just perusing around here and seeing if there's anything that I missed. I do want to see the perpetual versus futures. The premium continues to increase, so the market is actually pricing in more and more of a bullish sentiment right there. And then also what do we see over here? More futures trading, of course. Yes, that would make sense. Okay, so into the charts we go. And I want to start off with what we left off as the most important thing happening potentially the soonest yesterday, and that was the 2-day and 3-day closures, of which we did see a successful 2-day closure above the topside trailing band once again after a bit of a sideways, I don't know, I suppose week and a half right there. And with that in mind, I do look at this as implying that Bitcoin very likely to make not just new all-time highs, but new all-time highs probably over the next couple days. So relatively fast. And on top of that, we do see that the DMI ADX signal is continuing to well, the ADX is continuing to strengthen right here. DMI plus is kind of neutral, although it is dominant, so it is a bullish bias, obviously. But that is saying that if you are looking at that as an actionable signal, we haven't actually seen the move from it just yet, which I shudder to say for the potential moon boys listening to content like this and potentially misinterpreting it. But we'll come back to that a little bit later. On top of that, we do see that 2-day MACD continues to increase on the histogram. So, momentum is increasing right here as Bitcoin essentially does I mean, it's not even really a breakout. It's just continuation. It stair up its way. And typically these are your parabolic advances in my experience. So with that in mind, I know that this does sound a bit crazy, but on the whole, on the higher term timeframes, should I say it? Just watch the fucking Moon Boy video. You'll get it. Let's see. 3-day right here, same thing as well. We do see that 3-day MACD histogram continues to increase on the next tick, and we did close above the top side Toronto band, and 3-day DMI ADX continues to increase on the ADX. DMI plus somewhat, well, it is dominant, yeah, so it is in a bullish posturing, but I really want to see it get a positive slope on there. But again, that would be suggesting that if you are looking for the expansive move outside of this region, it is yet to happen. So we are talking about, relatively higher term timeframes for Bitcoin specifically here with the 2-day and 3-day. And that would be, well, relevant for our next major algo profit taking levels, of which that is going to be a big one right around the 2.618. So coming back to that data that we were looking at earlier, but the funny rate, as I make sure that I'm recording and the microphone's working, okay, that's really good. But going back to that data with the funny rate, I would be very cognizant of it, especially within this range right here, anywhere around about $58,000, as that would be a damn good place for a lot of people probably gonna be taking profits there. Playing the medium-term timeframes, as that is going to be your likely algo area. On top of that, we do have some more short-term relevant areas between the 272 and the 414. That's between about 54,000 to 55, or yeah, about 55,500-ish region. So I would be looking at that for a bit of a short-term play, perhaps similar to what we looked at yesterday at the 51,500-ish region. But just as you can see right here, that this area, if you're looking at a higher-term time frame, doesn't even register that Bitcoin even played off it at all. You have to go down to like the hourly in this case, and you can see that there was about $1,000 move, a little bit more than that, from top to bottom on that pivot. So with that in mind, I'm kind of looking for something similar around that between the 272 and the 414. But ultimately, essentially a range to be created. But ultimately, 58,000 is the more likely of that scenario. And of course, as I have been saying, that actually, it should be noted that the daily topside Toronto band is going to be in alignment with the 414 as well. So I would be looking for a bit of a pullback from the 414 rather than the 272 in this case. And probably plays out a range between them. But ultimately, in these more strong markets, a lot of the time what I do see is you actually get some spikes into the 3-spot extension right here. So I would not be, I would certainly not be not opposed. No, I would not be surprised at all to see, a quick spike into there and then settle into the 618 and then kind of decide the next sort of consolidation phase before continuation or potential reversal. But with the way things are looking right now, probably continuation. Anyways, let's go back, we are on the daily right now, so let's see what the daily is looking like. Nice one. Okay, so ADX continues on the DMI ADX here. DMI plus, same thing as the 2-day and 3-day, dominant, but dominant and in a good posture. I don't want to make this, I feel like I'm kind of picking at straws right now to kind of temper my own enthusiasm. Yeah, there we go. All of this is good, obviously. It's just you want to see that next leg being taken up. Daily MACD, what do we see right here? Needs to close above 50,250 in order to continue to rise above. So I do like that as well, as that's actually, we're a healthy $2,000 above that right now about. Anyways, do we want to look at the lower term timeframes here just really quick? 12-hour having a fresh bullish MACD cross the upside. Of course, that means nothing without context, and in the current context, closing at the top side of of our bands right here, while momentum also turns up. Yeah, that'd be a pretty damn good thing as well. So again, we do see the trifecta in that case. Okay, well, with that in mind, seeing as we got the most important things out of the way the soonest, let's see if there's anything to be aware of on CME. Looks like continuation, looks good, still expanding, still momentum pointed north. Daily, same shit. Looks very fucking good right there. 2-day, it did not close yesterday, by the way. Will be closing tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, I do put the most weight on CMEs. And well, as you can see, it is trading another about $1,500 healthily above the topside Toronto band. Obviously you want to see one before the next, but in this case, probably more or less for formality. And if we do get the next closure above, yes, I'm essentially just further looking north. But CNS spot already kind of did that. I look for CME to fall in this case. Same thing on the 3-day as well, as they have more or less these same structures here. Not really getting anything too unique from looking at CME, especially after like Tuesdays. Anyways, into the lower term time frames we go, and let's go over here to our regular charts, or these are kind of becoming the secondary charts now. And let's go over yesterday's price action really quick. So here was the 51,500-ish target that we had coming out of this structure right here below 49,000 bucks, and that was also a 2-spot extension, and we did get a little bit of a little bit of a pullback from that region. Like I said, about 1,500 bucks it looks like from top to bottom. Now realistically, this was never going to be like a major reversal region, or I shouldn't say never. That's a really bad sort of ideology to get into, but you know what I mean. It wasn't very likely. Yes, we'll use that terminology. And instead, what I really would be looking towards is again the 272 and the 414 are going to be the next big algo targets. And actually, I don't think that I have this done exactly properly here. Actually, no, that does work. Hold on, let's do this on a higher time frame though, because these wicks ain't loyal. All right, let's see what we got right here. Okay, boom. Yeah, that looks a little bit more right, and also in line with the measure move here as well. Yeah, the 272 is still pointed right towards this region right here, and so I'd want to be aware of that in a range between there and about 55,000 bucks for a medium-term area, or I guess in this case more short-term, as Bitcoin does just trudge its way along. Anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to go back down to the 4-hour time frame, and let's see what our momentum oscillators are saying right now. 4-hour RSI, again, extremely fucking constructive. We've been saying this for a while, or we've been identifying this for like the last more than a week now. Multiple drives of hidden bullish divergence off these lows. This has all been reaccumulation along this whole region, back into the bullish control zone, back above the exponential, and I'd be looking for this one to constructively work its way towards the top side of the bullish control zone, which would imply new highs on this on an expansive volatility signal as well over here, as we do get back down into the single digits. I mean, this is, also on top of that, we do see that 4-hour Stokes also pointing northwards as well, so we can see that. And also, actually, now that I realize it, following this trend line all the way, I guess I already have it in there, all the way down from, 21st of January. So with all of that in mind, I mean, we have momentum, we have volatility, we have, we have divergences, we have trend, we have also a structural breakout above the 2 spot right here as well. So with all of that in mind, and also measure move off of this ascending triangle. So with all of that in mind, I am still looking north towards about 54,000 bucks, give or take a few bucks. And then Bitcoin probably plays out a range between there and 55 for a little bit of time before deciding whether it wants to go for the full kit and caboodle all the way up to 58,000 bucks for the more medium-term time frame move. On top of that, if we go down and peruse the other lower term timeframes, I just want to see if we see more or less the same thing on 3-hour. Yes, we do. 3-hour Stokes, 3-hour RSI, basically the same chart actually here, which is really good. Good confluence right there. Same thing on HVP. Jewel is not giving us any sort of a bearish posturing here, by the way, for the Jewel people. When you see all of them have a positive slope, especially, those are a don't touch this signal, or hot your lung, and on the other side as well. Bi-hourly, same shit. Bi-hourly RSI actually really telling the story right here too. Consolidating in the bullish control zone. I really like this read. Again, everything looks like rainbows and sunshine. And hourly right here, 52,500 is going to be the magical number. What is Elsa sighing about? What is she going on over there? Having some fun with Mario or some bullshit. Anyways, yes, we do see that hourly RSI, a little bit short term, probably downside, but that's only an hourly in comparison to the 2, 3, and 4 hour, which are kind of suggesting the same things right now. So with all of that in mind, short term time frames looking more or less fine here, but we should come up with some areas for failure, because that is what is necessary in a market or in anything that has a non-zero chance of failing. And in this case right here, short-term, obviously 51,500 is still going to be relevant for the very short-term timeframes. I would actually even lower that down to this little structural, this little structural, what do you even want to call this? Let's just call it the $51,000 area. And I'd be using the 2-hour and 4-hour on that region. If Bitcoin does break below there, I suppose I'd look for another short-term move down to about 49,500-ish region. But there's nothing bearish at all whatsoever about this chart on any time frame that I'm concerned with, 4-hour plus, as long as Bitcoin is above 49,000 and some odd change. Let's call it 300 bucks right there. Let's just say 500 bucks is easier to say as well. If that condition were to happen, I would switch on to short-term bearish, and I would look for a move back down somewhere to about 47,000 bucks. And same thing implied there, a little bit of a short-term bounce. Man, then I'd want to see it in real time if it's likely to get continuation down to the 44,300-ish pivot. But now this 44,300-ish pivot is more relevant for the higher term timeframes in comparison to the last few days before that that essential liftoff. Which, god damn it, kitchen time, motherfucker, perfect fucking timing. Get your forks ready, assholes. Good morning. Anyways, now this level is relevant for the higher term time frames rather than the medium and lower term time frames. So that means that if Bitcoin does start to close like 12-hour or especially daily levels below here, then we could start to target moves back down to the mid $30,000 region, no longer $39,000 to $49,000, or sorry, $39,000 to $40,000. Although there would likely be a small bounce there. That would, going back down below this level on a 12-hour or daily would denote some actual like issues with structure here, and that would really call into question a lot of the higher term time frames, obviously. But for right now, I mean, I'm not really looking for that to happen, but I do think that's important to discuss these sorts of things, because if they do happen, then it can help with maybe having a plan. Of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm a financial derper, and you should definitely not be listening to fucking morons over the internet for and valuing their opinion at all above what you yourself have discovered. And I actually truly believe that. Except for me. Just kidding. Just kidding. Anyways, looking at the 12-hour right here. Remember, this one was also one of the bigger ones for the past week that we've been speaking about. 1, 2, 3 drives of hidden bullish divergence confirmed 2 days ago. That was, and still playing out right here. So this was a really, really powerful signal, as it did happen as Bitcoin was essentially approaching the top side of its range in fucking price discovery, which is going to lead to more price discovery as we search through the fucking stars to see where the hell Bitcoin's going to go. Momentum remains the upside as well. Very critical zone, but that's okay, at least for these more aggressive rallies. And I'd be looking for 12-hour RSI to continue to tell the story here. And at the very least, I'd be looking for it to pop to test the top side of the bullish control zone right here. I wouldn't be surprised if it actually even spent some time above there as well. Keep in mind though, long term, we do have divergence present as long as it does make a lower high below about 89.25. So that is going to be relevant, but maybe not for a little bit of time. And in fact, even going all the way back there now, the further that time kind of trudges along without it actually doing that, the more and more likely that it's just not going to play at all. And in fact, I would even, after looking at it from its longitudinal perspective, going back a couple months ago now to early January, I don't even think it's all that relevant, even for the current. In the longer that it takes, the less and less relevant that it will be, obviously, as I am using a 14 period on my RSI, and that is really fucking far back there, actually. So I would even argue that this is now going to start to be considered as a completely different segment in the market cycle, as Bitcoin does kind of put in a base, dare I say, above $50,000, or maybe not $50,000, but $40,000, I'd say is where the big base is. Okay, all right. What do we see on the daily? Continuation. Yes. Okay. So remember yesterday as well. The past 2 days we've been speaking about this bit of a triangular consolidation on daily RSI right here. I actually put a lot more weight on formations. Not that I'm a big pattern trader on RSI than I do price action. In this case right here, we are obviously breaking the lower high structure. I'd call that resolution. High likelihood here. I'll put it that way. Momentum remains the upside as long as Bitcoin's above about $47,000. All of this looks good, and I would essentially be marking everything as continuation here. Take that as you will. I mean, it's a great time to just fucking dump it in my face. But fair enough, this is more or less fine for the time being. Moving on to CME, I'm curious if there's just anything different that we're seeing here on a momentum oscillators. Pretty much the exact same signature on the 4-hour Stokes, up as long as above 50,000, even has the same fucking trend line. 4-hour RSI playing up the same hidden bullish divergence. Probably does have a short-term downside move there, but long-term very constructive. Very likely does get another tribe up. And 4-hour historical volatility percentile starting to come down to literally like a 2 read. Jesus, man. Alrighty, well, with all of that in mind, this is looking like the exact same thing in spot. Same thing like 12-hour as well, except it didn't have that same sort of hidden bullish divergence. That is 1 point in favor of spot's chart that CME did not show. Usually it's the other way around, but everything else pretty much the same. All right, we are 18 minutes into this bitch, and it is time to talk about some other bullshit. How about that? Let's look at this inanimate object. Actually, first off, let's go check out caretaker ranges. I just want to see. Ooh, we got the 4-hour in a critical bull zone, strong rising trend. Yep, he's getting the $55,000 target and the $54,000 target, so I really do like that. So we have good confluence on those ones. Well, that's really all that I want to see there. What more can you find? Yeah, the hourly also showing 53,500 as well, and $50,000 to the downside if it gets there. But I think the 4 hour is actually a little more accurate in this current structure. All right, on to Nasdaq we go, and we did talk about this on the late day wrap up yesterday that Nasdaq likely gets to move back down to the 21 exponential average right here, playing out that regular regular bearish divergence coming off the last 3 highs, 1, 2, 3, and while it very likely does bounce on the first pass, which so far it has exactly as predicted. I can't do it. I don't think. Can't do it. It's like there's a level of obnoxiousness. Exactly as predicted in this video. Yeah, that's not looking very good right there. I wouldn't be surprised if this one does take another leg down actually and go all the way to about 13,300-ish region. Where's next major daily? Yeah, 13,300-ish region where I'd be looking towards next. Is there any way that I get bullish back on it once again? Maybe back above 13,750, but it's looking like this one actually. Well, we do have some hidden bullish divergence coming off the lows here. Maybe I do give it a bit of a chance here. Okay, let's see. In that case, I'd be using a 4 hour and the 21 at about 13,500-ish region to kind of manage on this one. Actually, you could use 13,550, we'll call it. Any sort of closure below there, then yeah, I probably do look for that next leg down. But this one is really starting to look toppy as momentum turns down, plus divergences over here. And daily RSI, while long-term is actually okay, short-term likely does try to put another low somewhere in the middle of the neutral zone. So I would be looking for a greater pullback there. I imagine it's going to be the same thing on SPY as well. Similar move, although this one not as immediately droopy here. Same sort of divergence is present. It's like pretty much the same chart. This one not as dire as the other one. We did hit our target from yesterday, just below $3,900. You know what? I think SPY's a little more obvious here. Scratch what I said about Nasdaq. I think that is the more difficult chart to read right now. What I'd do here is I'd populate that. We can use this as a bit of a short-term pivot as well. And I'll be operating off of this range right here, obviously, and using 3,900 to kind of manage and judge the next leg down. If 3,900 is broken on, can we use a 2 hour? Yeah, you could use a 2 hour. A 2 hour or 4 hour closure there, then I would be looking for the next leg down somewhere around the 21 exponential average, which is 3875-ish region, also along the 2-spot 414, our former basing area. So with that in mind, I would want to see confirmation on this one first, because this one does not look as obviously downside inclined as Nasdaq, and I'm more inclined to go with the former trend. Even if Nasdaq's kind of against that, because we do see rotations and obviously traditional markets as well. That's where I learned the fucking concept actually. But looking at this right here, we do have some things pointed up as well. So I wouldn't be as gung ho to call the downside on this one in comparison to Nasdaq. So I'd actually look for SPY futures to get the direction. And technically speaking, I should be looking for another bounce off the 55 right here. So with that in mind, I think I'll leave it after that for this one. If it does break below this region, or even take out the last few wick lows, I do think that would imply continuation of the downside as well. And then you'll see Nasdaq take that next leg down to, I think it was 13.3-ish region. So that's what I'd be looking at right there. Moving on to, is Link bullish? Does a bear shit in the woods? Looks bullish, man. What about Theta? I don't know. Why am I looking at this bullshit again? Looks bullish here too, actually. What about DOT? Looks bullish. Is that a consolidation at a high level? It is. It is. What about uni bullshit? Hidden bullish evidence on the bottom probably pops up as well. Everything else gets to rally. What about Ethereum, Bitcoin? That's always a good one to be watching. Yeah, this one's a very interesting one. I do think that the short-term bounce continues here. Probably does try and move back up towards like 3,750,000 to 3,800,000-ish region. But I'm not sure that the downside after that is completely done. I'm really split on this chart actually. You know what? A healthy amount of I don't know on this one is gonna be the right call. I feel like we did a good job of getting bullish over here. After that, I don't think I think we just need to let this thing unwind a little bit. I'm not really seeing anything like too obvious just yet. if anything, if I'm looking at the weekly, like that hidden bullish divergence already played out, obviously. If I'm looking at the weekly, though, this is just fucking bizarre. It's just like technical analysis soup. I do think that the short-term bounce does play out a little bit more, though. Yeah, it probably does. Okay, here we go. Okay, now we have something. Well, we probably have hidden bearish divergence on the low. Okay, well, fair enough. I could get medium-term bullish on this one once again with any sort of a closure back above the 200 exponential average. That's actually at your 3.750 million pivot. So I do like that, actually. So good confluence right there. That's what I'll be going off of on this one. As long as it's below there, pressure is obviously down. But is this thing ready for a greater bounce here? Maybe, yeah. Not really strong opinions on this. I really shouldn't even be talking about altcoins because I don't spend my time watching them except for like on these videos or when I get really great requests. Let's see. What about Ethereum versus US dollar breaking out as well? So as predicted, exactly as predicted. Makes fucking no sense. Ethereum following Bitcoin's footsteps after Bitcoin takes the first leg up. Ethereum following in this case, and Ethereum actually getting very, very close to that $2,000 target. Problem is, that's really not relevant for all that much except for a round psychological number. What I would really, well, actually, it's a 2-spot 618 extension right there. So fair enough. There is a little bit of merit to that. Ultimately, though, I highly doubt that things actually stop at $2,000. I'd really be looking up here towards the 414 and the 618 in these sort of specific conditions between about 22 and 2400. I can't see in the morning. So you could say that maybe I'm bullish. I mean, there's not really much bearish about this chart right here. I mean, we are in trending mode as far as the weekly 200 bands go as well. Yeah, probably doesn't even stop at 22 to 2400 as well. Probably just short-term, medium-term type bullshit there. So it's 2017 all over again. Get your fucking dicks wet, boys. And girls, I don't know what the equivalent of that would be. Moist. Moist. Also very similar to the Finnish word of how to say hello. Moi. Moist. That's going to piss off a lot of people. All right. That's right. Girls don't just get wet anymore. It's also guys too. So we want to be neutral, gender neutral here. Or sorry, I shouldn't even say guys and girls. Let's the chest feeders. They like I actually saw that recently. Can't call shit titties anymore. They are chest feeders, which sounds like something that you hear out of a fucking alien movie. It's not good. Okay, well, fucking chest feed. What the fuck, man? We live in the best times of all time. I'll tell you that right now. It's like, what the fuck, man? What the fuck? How are we so lucky to live in these times? This is the funniest time ever to be alive. The fucking funniest time. Okay, well, I think I've spoken everything that I want to say. Yeah, so when it comes to the long-term analysis, I don't want to be covering that in these videos because it's just going to get too fucking long. But I did go ahead and like I said at the beginning of this video, upload like a, 25-minute long segment just focusing on the long-term analysis for Bitcoin, talking about the next market cycle tops, talking about the next market cycle lows, timing, that sort of a thing, if it can be done, and all that good stuff. So I would just point you towards that video if that's what you're interested in. But for today, I think that's pretty much it for what I wanted to talk about. We can wrap this bitch up now, which I guess is just going to be more or less continuation. All right. Bitcoin on the 3-day once again did close above the topside shoulder band with yesterday's daily little closure, plus the 2-day also falling through on the topside as well. So this is once again expansive territory, and I would be looking for the next major algo targets to the upside to very likely get hit coming out of this region right here. We do have measure moves, we do have Fibonacci extensions, and we do see the confluent regions coming in right around the 2-spot 618 in line with the pattern target as well at about $58,000. Of course, I would be cognizant of the 272 and the 414 for a little bit of short-term consolidation area, as we do see that the funding rate over here is really starting to creep up and like maintain up for multiple days on end now. So I would be looking for the next major sort of obvious profit taking area to likely provide a little bit of pushback, as we do see people give up their positions. And a lot of people have been asking for the theory behind this. The theory is rather simple. If you're paying 0.3% like on Bybit to hold your longs, you're kind of paying a lot of money, and it becomes costly to hold those longs over time. So it might be in your best financial interest to get rid of that and maybe reposition after the funding rate is passed, because that actually is a workable thing that you can do. If you don't like the funding rate, you can jump out literally 1 second before the funding rate is paid, and then jump back in. Yeah, you might lose a little bit on price action, but you won't have to pay the funding rate. So fair enough. Anyways, back into it right on over here. Short term on the daily, we do see that the topside Toronto band is coming in line right around the 2.414 as well. So I would be, again, cognizant of this region between about 54 and 55,000 bucks as a little bit of a short-term basing area, and that would also flow into our lower-term time frame analysis right here. I do want to also talk about the downside. Obviously, it is important to have, what's it called, plans for what to do if something goes wrong. Of course, this is not financial advice, but your first warning signal is now below 51,000 bucks at the 2-spot extension. Actually did lower this a bit as well, just so that it's in line with structure. Goodbye, sir. On top of that, we do see that the former breakout region of about 49,000 bucks still very much relevant. Now this is going to be relevant to the short-term, medium-term timeframes. Bitcoin does break this range right here. I would be looking for another move back down somewhere around 47,000 bucks. Probably a small bounce implied there, with continuation likely down to about 45,500-ish region. But now all of this region right here, it gets like shifted up one narrative essentially, where we do see that now 44,300 is not relevant for the medium-term timeframes. It is now relevant for the higher-term timeframes, meaning that if Bitcoin were to close like a 12-hour or daily below there, structure is broken, and we can talk about moves back down significantly to, we can talk about like $10,000 move down to about 35,000 bucks, bounces along the way, of course, yes, but I do want to say, or at least I want to be on record as saying I'm not looking for that to happen. It's just have to have a plan for what to do if shit goes wrong. At the end of the day, mostly looking towards these numbers right here. 58,000 still very much on the menu at the 2-spot 618. Any sort of a range between there and about 58,000 and 62,000. Still looking towards, as Bitcoin just kind of slowly trudges its way north. On lower term time frames, we do see that momentum oscillators are pretty much all on the same side. 4-hour playing at that same trend line, going all the way back to late January and continuing with the upside pressure right there. We do see that historical volatility percentile also in a expansive posturing as well, and the hidden bullish divergence, of which we've been documenting for like the last week and a half now, slowly but surely kind of playing out into the bullish control zone once again, back above the exponential, everything looking nice there. And all lower term time frames are kind of in unison right here. Here's your 3-hour, here's your 2-hour, here's your hourly, pretty much all about the same except for the hourly. So a little bit of maybe a short term sideways and down based off the hourly, but ultimately, all higher term timeframes are bullish, and in medium term timeframes as well, like 12-hour right here, playing out the same hidden bullish evidence as well. I mean, this very likely does go at the very least to the edge of the bullish control zone. So fair enough. I mean, I'm trying to find more bearish things. I think it's just best to talk about failure points and pivot points. But in this case right here, also daily breaking structure as well on daily RSI. So all of, I'm trying to find counter arguments to what I'm saying, because I don't want to be too one-sided in a video like this. But fair enough. Fair enough. Things look more or less good here, I suppose, especially as long as Bitcoin's above 50,000 bucks. So that's kind of what I'll leave it with. Is there anything that would be the most important thing to be aware of today? Before closure, Ethereum probably to 2,000 bucks. Let's see. No, we're not seeing the 2-day or the 3-day closure. Oh yes, on CME. On CME, we will get the 2-day closure today. If that closes above the top side Toronto band, I imagine this is more or less of a formality, but it essentially support continuation as well. But I imagine you're probably going to see that continuation before that's even confirmed to begin with. So I think it's a good place for me to leave this one off. I want to wish you well, salute you, and until next time.